Good morning, everybody, on this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Saturday morning, bank holiday weekend in the sun. And I can't believe it. You guys are all turning up. I mean, you're logging on in as we talk here. There's people just consistently logging on. Brilliant. Thank you for turning up on a Saturday morning on a bank holiday weekend. But hey, what better place to be than here? You know, it's terrific. Morning, chaps. People are already saying good morning to you, Gavin. Good morning to you, Jim. Anyway, welcome to Property CEO Support Sessions. My name is Richie Clapson, and I'm here with Ian Child.
Good morning.
See that he even talks as well. As I say, it's great to have you here. So what are these shows? Well, 45 minutes. We aim to be done by 10:45, absolute 11 o'clock latest, to get you away for the rest of your Saturday and your weekend. And it's about injecting a bit of positivity into what's happening right now, isn't it, Ian?
Certainly is. Now, some of you may not be familiar with Property CEO, so welcome if you're new. What we do, we train people how to become property developers. And generally that's doing small scale projects. So we're not talking sort of shopping centres and housing estates, usually much smaller than that. And typically we train first time developers. So our job is to help them make sure that they find the best opportunities and kind of don't make any expensive mistakes as they go along. Now we decided to run these sessions to give people some tips that could maybe help them protect their livelihoods in what are some quite challenging times right now. But we also know that with a recession looming around the corner, it's a great time for people to kind of prepare for the opportunities that inevitably are going to come up as we go forward. And I think it's fair to say history has proven that the people that are taking action kind of now at the start of a recession, rather than waiting for events to unfold, are the ones that are going to be successful. So that is why we are here.
And you know, as we say, a lot of doom and gloom, but in here, this is a half full zone, not a half empty. This is a half full zone. We make no excuses for that. We don't belittle what's going on the outside, but this is definitely a half full zone. So hopefully it's a bit of fun. And it's for anyone in property, landlords, investors, anyone professionally in property, or anyone in business who may be struggling right now, who wants a bit of positive injection, a shot in the arm. We're happy to take questions. In fact, if we don't have any questions, we just go. We just leave and go. So please put questions in the chat box as we go through, so we can answer anything we want. So on today's show, well, actually, before we do today's show, give me a wave. Make sure you can hear and see us, because we've been rabbiting on for a couple of minutes. Can you hear and see us? Yes, you can. Yes. Thank you very much. Well, guys, yeah, thank you as well. Look, Karen says, swapping device back in a mo and good morning. Back in a mo. Okay, Karen. Well, we'll wait then, shall we? Is everyone okay? We're just going to wait for Karen. She's swapping device and she's going to be back in a mo.
Oh, dear.
You back yet, Karen? Karen's not back. We'll see what happens anyway. Richard says good morning. Yes, Nina says good morning. Good morning to you, Nina. Good morning, Jacqueline. Good morning. Alison's on. Alison says good morning, gents. Beautiful day. It is, Alison.
It is.
And Alison said you have the lower ranking parent here. The other one is away flying. So Alison, good morning. You're a much politer version than the other one. Dom he's just rude to us, Alison. So please, you should come on all the time. And welcome to everyone else. First of all, I'm just going to drop the hands. Give us a wave if you're completely new to this show, please. Give us a wave if you're completely new. Yes, there are a few people that's completely new. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Well, good morning to you. If I haven't mentioned your name, do apologize. But Ola, good morning. Yoko, Vicky, Simon, Roma, Mozon, Monica. Hello, Monica. How are you? I haven't spoken to you for a while. Carl. Karen's logged on twice. She likes it twice as good. Jim, good morning. Obviously, you've got the kids away. Jess is on. Jacqueline, Edward, Deborah, good morning. Deborah Clive, good morning. Bob, Ashley, Alicia, good morning to you. There's a stack of people on, which is great for a Saturday morning. Anyway, what are we doing today? Well, why the change in shirt, says Martin. Is that to me, Martin?
I think it might be.
Going around today, it's not Blue Check Day. Isn't that right, Ian?
It's not Blue Check. I thought every day was Blue Check Day in the studio.
Yeah, no, not today, not today. Just today, we're going to announce the new name of the show going forward, and there is a competition winner, so that can't be bad, can it? We've also got a special guest coming on in a minute. So Sam Beddoe from Revive Holdings, you asked us to bring one of our mentees on, one of our students, so you can quiz them and ask them about their journey. So Sam's coming on in a minute. So we'll bring Sam on. Hopefully she'll be ready in the background for us, and she'll join us very shortly. So yeah, great stuff. Bank holiday weekend, it's terrific. What have you been up to so far, Ian, on your bank holiday weekend, just before we kick off?
I've actually been dog training for my sins. For some of you may be aware, I don't know if some of the people that are on are in our Facebook group, the gauntlet was thrown down earlier this week when one of the more talented members of the Clapson family put a post out on the Facebook group. This is Benji Clapson, doing some quite interesting things with the book. Now I should explain, Benji's obviously a puppy. And somebody who had no input whatsoever into Benji's training decided to make a comment about how the child family dog wouldn't be capable of doing anything quite as talented as that. So I've basically picked up the gauntlet, and yeah, I've started training my dog, and it's
never win. I am now officially a dog lover, because the Clapson dog, which is my son and daughter-in-law's dog, is a very intelligent dog. In fact, Joe's just put, he's cute. She did follow it up by saying the dog, that is. I don't think she means me. Yeah, if you want to see the dog rivalry, in fact, Joe's dog's on there as well. But the Clapson dog, who's super intelligent, has actually done a little video shoot where he actually's got his paw on one of our books and rotates the book round. I mean, that's stunning. The child dog, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Actually, getting the child dog to appear in the same picture as a book at the moment is proving to be quite challenging. But the weekend is young. I'm having another go a bit later on.
Jacqueline says, has Benji actually read the book, though? No, Jacqueline, Benji wrote the book. Dear. Nina says, intrigued to know the name of the new sessions, the new name. Yeah, Nina, you're going to find that out a little bit later on. So yeah, please put your questions in the chat box for Sam. Shall we bring Sam on? Give us a wave if you'd like us to bring Sam on. If you don't give us any waves, then we'll just delete her. We won't have her on. So see if she's locked on. Ah, yes, hands are going up. So we'll have to bring Sam on. Let's see if we have Sam available. Sam, can you hear us?
I can.
Excellent. Let's see if we can see Sam. Switch your camera on, Sam.
Can you see me?
Not yet, but we're going to any minute, I feel.
Just a second. There we go.
There we go. Can everyone please put your hands up? I'm just going to drop them now. Can you give us a hand up if you can see and hear Sam? Yes, you can. Excellent.
Hi,
Sam,
everyone.
good morning.
Good morning, Sam.
Morning.
Isn't it great to have Sam here? Morning, Sam, says Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Joe, Sam says good morning to you. We're not going to do this with everyone individually, because this will be here a while. Oh, Richard says, morning, Sam.
Morning, Richard.
Morning, Richard. Oh, guys, don't just do that consistently. Can we ask, Yoko says, good morning, Sam. Nice to see you. Morning, Sam, says Deborah. Okay, stop the morning, Sams. We said good morning to Sam. Let's get some questions in the box for Sam. So, Sam, thank you for joining us. Sam's journey, for those that don't know Sam, is extremely interesting. Maybe we'll ask Sam to give us a bit of a background of what she did before she started in property, full stop. Some of you might be somewhat surprised. Raj says, good morning, 18. By the way, Sam, that's just myself and Ian. It's not necessarily you. So don't, you could be in the 18. We'll see. But Sam's background is particularly interesting. So we get Sam to give us a bit of an overview of her background before she got into property. And then, yeah, get some questions in, and we can fire some questions at Sam on where she sees, where her journey's gone in property, what the challenges were, whatever you want. Just throw it in the chat box and we will ask Sam. Sam, can you give us a bit of your background, what it is you did in your former life?
Sure. So for 23 years, I was a detective in the police force. I left the police 5 years ago now. It was not working so well with my family life. I was spending too much time at work. So that's when I got into property. Prior to joining the police, when I was like 18, 19, 20, after leaving college, I was working in estate agents. And that's where I think I got my first taste of property, because in those days, many moons ago, you could buy a 2 up, 2 down terraced house in Portsmouth for about 18,000. And I would see people do this. I'd see them improve it, refurb it, and then put it on the market 6-9 months later for sort of 26,000. So I got the taste of it there, thinking, well, that's a good idea. But I just felt I was too young and not in the financial position that I was able to do it myself, and had my eyes set on a career in the police force anyway. So joined the police force when I was 23 and did a variety of jobs there. Finished off in major crimes, so I was dealing with interviewing of murderers and kidnappers and drug dealers, human traffickers, all of those sort of things. So it was a great career at the time. There was lots of ups and downs, lots of times when I was in the face of danger and realising that I wasn't paid enough to put my life on the line, basically. I know that sounds maybe a little bit dramatic, but there were times when
just a little, Sam. Don't over egg it, Sam. I think you were. I've got good information tells me you were actually just a traffic warden.
Yeah. So
just to say, actually, Sam, none of our guests have been on twice yet, and I wonder why.
The uniform's gone to Sam's head. She embellishes this story every time I see her. I mean, to start with, she was just giving out parking fines in the local car park, and now it's like it's murder and drug trafficking. No, carry on, Sam, please. So Sam, this and yeah, generally it was her previous career. Maybe she did traffic warning at some point. I do not know. So you decided to transition into property. Where did you start in property?
So I knew somebody who was already a property investor. So she kind of took me under her wing to start off with, got some education, paid a pretty penny for that. Did buy-to-lets, HMOs, started in development, had a development that didn't go as planned. I've got a serviced accommodation business as well. But my main focus is to be a developer. Serviced accommodation takes up too much time and have to be very proactive and reactive to it all the time, and it doesn't really fit with me anymore.
You said a development went wrong. What in just as a high level, what went wrong with it and why?
We worked with people who weren't as experienced as they suggested they were. We had a plan to take the permitted development route, and we ended up changing that during the development to do a full planning application. The full planning application was painful because it took a year longer than it should have. That ended up in extended costs with the cost of borrowing, extended professional fees costs, and that meant that there was no profit in the deal. So although we achieved the planning, there was too much risk for us to build that project out. So we sold it with planning uplift for another developer to build it out.
So you said you made a mistake. Why would you say, looking back now in hindsight, which is a wonderful thing, why did you make that mistake?
Obviously, as the owner of that property alongside my business partner, we have to take responsibility for the way that went. But we were leaning heavily on an external person to be our guidance there, and that was the guidance that he gave us. I don't want to, stand back and say, oh, it's nothing to do with me. We ultimately were running that company. But yeah, we should have stuck with the permitted development route rather than taking a planning route, because you hand all the control over to the council more than you do with a permitted development.
So you think there, as you say, maybe the advice you were given was probably not as experienced as you thought. So you actually in theory, getting in your mind experienced advice. But as you now know, in hindsight, in this industry, unless someone's advising you that's been around quite a few years, this industry is very complex, isn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately, there are some people who are uplifting their experience more than there is, and they're very good at speaking to people who are less experienced, like we were, and working with them. So
I
yeah,
try to downplay my experience, Sam, because otherwise people think I'm very old. So I try and bring it right the way down that I've only been kicking around a couple of years.
yeah. So yes, it was quite a sort of challenging and stressful purchase there, but I've learnt. I know we all say this, but we've learnt some things out of that. Of definitely things we're not going to be doing in the future, and who we're not going to be working with in the future.
So tell me then, so you went into SA and you still hold an SA business, but you mentioned then it's not for you. So what's the interest in getting into development as a change?
Well, with serviced accommodation, you have to be responsive. So if you have a guest that needs something, you can't just say, well, I'll deal with that on Monday. You've got to be dealing with it within 24 hours. So you can't say, I'm going to switch the phone off for the weekend. That's not, unless you've outsourced it to everyone else. And then if you do that, then you're having more costs to the business. What I prefer with development is that my time can be managed more effectively, and that I'm working with other professionals who are experts in their field, so that I don't need to be an expert in every field. And the potential there to have good returns is higher than serviced accommodation.
Yeah.
I just asked, well, when you started out in development, I think a lot of people look at development and they may worry about certain things like, you know, how they're going to find a team or find money and so on and so forth. What were the worries that you had kind of starting out, and how did you what was reality like?
I think it was initially it was about how to find a deal that works, and then also to work with investors. Now I pulled money out of my own home, so I pulled the equity out of my home to start. I also moved my police pension into a SAS pension, so I had those funds to use, and that's what I've used before. But I also work with investors, and initially it was, well, who's going to want to work with me? You know, I'm just starting out. Why would they want to work with me? But I've found that lots of people, lots of investors do want to work with you, and it's not necessarily me going to them and saying, do you want to work with me? It's people approaching me. So perhaps people are observing what you're doing, observing how you are as a person. I think that's very important, how you treat other people, and then that encourages them that they want to explore what you're doing and work with you in some way.
And how did you, in terms of people finding out about what you do and what you know, that you're so that they could have that communication with you, how did you do that? How did you spread the word?
I think it's just been kind of through networking, word of mouth. I'm not one of these who's blasting out on social media all the time about what I'm doing. Maybe I should be better at doing that. But I'm very wary about social media, and some people are very clever at their marketing, and like we've just said, they're not all they're cracked up to be, but they're very polished on social media. So I want people to get to know who I am and my ethics and transparency and all of those things that are really important when investors are working with you. They've got to know that they can trust you, and that if they invest with you, that you're treating their money as if it was your grandma's money, and that they're going to get it back, and you're going to look after it, you know, as if it was your own. And I think people can only do that by spending time with you, talking to you, and seeing how you behave in business.
I think one of the things that's interesting is if you tell everybody what you do, you never know when opportunities come up. Sometimes I think those opportunities are for deals and so on, but I guess equally it also applies to people who have money, who you may not have known, people in the family, people, friends and so on. It's so true, isn't it, that the opportunities out there if only you tell people. So in terms of challenges, then, what would you say is kind of like the biggest challenge that you've encountered so far? Obviously, you had the initial project back in the day that was a steep learning curve. What are the other challenges that you've kind of encountered, and what's the difficult side of development?
I've got a couple of deals that are going through at the moment, but it's taken an awful long time to find something that's not vulnerable, viable. Excuse me. I've had a couple of deals where there's been me and one other person, and the other person's ended up with a deal. I've had that a couple of times in the last sort of year, which has been a bit of a shame. But finding something that the numbers stack, what I'm not prepared to do is tweak the numbers to make it fit, because you'll end up down the line. And especially at the moment, although I've got deals going through, my plan is to reappraise those as we're going through to make sure that they're still viable, because there's so much talk, and I know it's all crystal ball at the moment, there's so much talk about what's the value is going to be going forward, what's the NGBV going to be. So you're going to have to work out those numbers to check that the purchase price at the moment is correct, and maybe it needs an adjustment there. Don't know at the moment. But making those numbers stack and making sure as I'm going through my appraisal that there's plenty of flex in there and margins in there, so if there is a problem, we've got contingency to be able to cover that. So everything's got to have at least 20% profit margin in it, and then a contingency of 10%. And then if there's other things, then I'll try and overestimate it to see if the deal stacks then. And then if it does, then I'll move forward with it.
Sam, a lovely comment from Debs in. Deborah said, anyone who knows you, Sam, knows that you are authentic and have integrity with all you do.
Yes, thank you.
Love Debs. Well done, Debs. That's very kind. Yeah. Absolutely. Question here then, Sam, that we've got in. Let's have a look. From Nina. Nina says, sorry, another question's just popped in, it's gone up. How do you go about building your credibility when starting out in property?
Tell people what you've done in the past. Is there any transferable skills there that you can relate to your development journey? Tell them what you're planning to do, why you're planning to do it, and explain how you're going to go about that. I think it's just all about the honesty and what your plans are. And if it's for talking to investors, then understanding what they want out of it as well.
Yeah.
Making sure that you're meeting their needs and it's not just all about you.
Okay, interesting. Okay, question here. Nina, hopefully that's answered your question. As always, if you've heard a question in, you want a bit more clarity, follow up with another question, and Sam can clarify a bit more.
Well, just to add, actually, can I just add to Nina's to that response, just to say that another massive advantage in development is obviously the professional team. So rather than you having to have all the experience yourself, you kind of building a team around you that has got lots of decades quite often of experience in all the different disciplines. And so when people look at you, they don't just look at the person that's not perhaps done a development before. They look at the person that's pulled together a team that's done loads of developments. And so it's making sure you're presenting that rather than just you as an individual.
Sam, Nina says, great, thanks for that. So Nina, that's good. Sounds like we've answered that question. So Sam, thank you for that. Ritesh has put a question in. Ritesh says, he says, Sam, how could you have made deeper due diligence on the professionals to ensure their credibility and experience. I guess he's referring to, you said you've made some mistakes before. That was probably less with the professionals, but more the people that were advising you from a training perspective. So maybe could you answer that maybe in two questions? Because I think there's two interesting questions. If you want someone to train you or mentor you, how could you do deep due diligence on them? And there's a second part, Sam, if you don't mind. How can you do how can you do deep due diligence on professionals that you're going to work with as well, industry professionals?
Okay, so with the first one, as I said, I was just kind of starting out in my journey. This person was very well positioned. So they were a host of a property networking group. They were a trainer with a property group. They were doing their own developments. So on the face of it, the perception was that they were experts in their field. They were trusted to teach other people, thousands of other students. They were trusted to train them in development by a property company. So you would expect them to have the knowledge base there. They were a host, so they were kind of put on a pedestal of a networking group there. So you would expect them to be ethical and honourable and honest there, wouldn't you? And they were doing their own developments. So at that point, I felt, and so did my business partner, felt that they were well positioned to be able to work with us on it. Unfortunately, there seems to be quite a lot of smoke and mirrors in the property world, where people embellish their experience and their credibility. Going on to the professionals that I work with now, then that can be from recommendations, work with people who have been recommended to you. Somebody else has had a good experience with them. Find out what their background is, their qualifications, what jobs are they doing at the moment. Perhaps speak to people who have just finished a job with them. How have they got on with them?
I guess that, Sam, that applies to anything, doesn't it? Whether it's someone that is going to help you out on your journey, or whether it's an industry professional, it's go back and actually speak to people. Get out there. And the social media is so good these days that actually, if someone, as you say, is doing a bit of smoke and mirrors, to use your words, in whatever advisory capacity, you should better catch them out. It's just genuinely ask people that you feel that you've got some rapport with. You think, actually, I'm going to ask that person, they seem pretty genuine. I love the fact, like Deb said, you're genuine and authentic. So ask someone who you feel is like that, and then get their opinion of these people in the industry. Excellent.
What that experience has taught me now is identified lots of things that I will check and won't do in the future. So, for instance, I don't want to take the planning route if I can avoid it. I'll do the PD route. And the way that benefits my investors now is because I've had that experience, that challenging experience. I don't want to do that again. So I'm safeguarding me and I'm safeguarding them more than if I didn't have that experience. Then me and they are in a risk in the future. So I'm safeguarding from that now. I'm mitigating that, which means any other developments that I do now going forward, I'm not prepared to take those risks, which should mean it's a sounder deal for my investors.
Ritesh, hopefully that's answered your question.
We've got one in from Rich, Sam. Rich says, how do you find your deals? How do you go about finding those opportunities?
Well, I have one that was on the market at the moment and one that's direct to vendor. Now, the direct to vendor is through a friend. It's my best friend's father is selling a property, so he's happy to do that directly with me and not go to an agent.
You have friends then, Sam?
Pardon?
You have friends?
Just a couple, yeah. And then the other one was on the market, but I was advised to speak to this agent to get some advice on a different property in the same town that I was looking at. So I was chatting to him about the other property, which he was also marketing, but he was deterring me from buying that because it had all sorts of problems with its foundations. And because I'd been recommended from a friend of his, he was a bit more honest than maybe he would be with a stranger. And then he said, well, why don't you have a look at this one? So I had a look at the one. And I spent a long time, probably longer than I should have before I put the offer in, but I think that's probably because of the experiences I've had before, that I just wanted to make sure it was going to be viable. What I didn't want to do is offer and then withdraw and mess around. And, you know, if I'm going to put an offer in, let's get on with it, sort of thing, rather than mess around. So put an offer in on that one, and that one's going through at the moment.
And
So
generally,
on the market, direct to vendor, but going forward, when I'm looking to pipeline more properties, I will be doing more things that aren't on the market. So look at all the on the market stuff, but at the same time, look at the off the market. So looking on Google, identifying what particular areas near me that I want to look at and Google it. Obviously, we can't go driving around at the moment, but do the driving around and have a look at what sort of businesses are available at the moment that might not necessarily be around in 3 or 4 months' time. With what's going on now, maybe they won't be opening up again, and see if there's some opportunities there.
Sam, just a couple of follow-ups. So the question about how do you build your credibility that Nina asked, she said, thanks for that, and thanks for the follow-up, Ian. So smiley face, that was good. And Ritesh, where we were talking about due diligence, he says, thanks for that, Sam. Just a statement, I think, not a question, from Karen. Karen says, Sam, you are awesome at determining investor requirements, probably from your previous background that you did, and with such integrity. So yeah, Karen, thanks for that lovely compliment. Question in from Charlotte. How much personal money do you advise to have to start out?
Well, as much as you can raise, if possible, but you don't necessarily need to have any. You can work with holding with investors with their funds if you want to. You can do like I did with the raising equity out of your house or a pension. Work with other pension investors. There's other companies. I mean, Go Develop, I think it is, who will work with you to do 100% funding. So you don't necessarily have to have your own money. I know there's criteria with Go Develop that they won't do a tiny development, but there's lots of options out there, and I don't think it should hinder you. Now I know there's lots of debate. Do you find the deal first? Do you find the money first? And I think that's personal choice. I've done it both ways round. And probably about a year, 18 months ago, I decided I wanted to have the bank of money before I went out and offered things. That's just my personal preference. So I spent time working with investors, talking to them, identifying what they wanted, showing them the sort of things that I was looking for them to come forward and say, well, okay, yeah, I'd like to do that. I've got 50 grand or I've got 100 grand or whatever. So that I knew that when I offered, I had the confidence that I could follow through with that and pursue the deal. Not everyone does that. Some people just want to find the deal and then worry about the money later, but I think it's personal preference. Perhaps if you find the deal, but then you can't find the money, then you're going to have to look at perhaps JVing with someone, or you may have to pass that deal on to somebody else for a fee. So either way, you can make it work.
So as you say, Sam, there's a lot of personal preference. You've tried it both ways. You now prefer the comfort of getting the money in before you do that. Charlotte, excellent. Hopefully that's answered your question. Alicia says, good morning, Sam. Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you on board, Alicia, today. So she says, do you develop to hold, sell, or blend? Do you have a preference, and why? Smiley face.
The last property I did, I hold, and I use it for serviced accommodation. The two that I'm doing at the moment, I plan to hold, but it just depends where we are with what's going on at the moment. I might need to sell them. What I'm not keen on doing is locking a lot of money up in them. So my ideal preference is to develop it, hold it, but not leave any money in there. That's not always possible. I think probably one of the deals that I'm doing at the moment is going to be possible, but maybe not the bigger one. So it's just a case of having to see, really. If I can hold them and we can move out of the situation we're in at the moment, then that's great, because whatever the GDV is not so crucial because you're holding it anyway.
Sam, you've got two projects, which are two refurbishment projects at the moment. I mean, people might be interested, without saying in detail, just broadly, what are you looking to return as a profit, just as a high level number over the next few years out of those two projects, your first two development projects?
Well, basing it on the numbers pre-lockdown, one of them, the smaller one, was a purchase of 290 with a low refurbishment on there to come out at around 400,000, 450 maybe. So the potential profit on that one was around 50 to 100,000. That's very rough figures.
Yep.
And then the bigger one was purchase of 500. Then the refurb and professional fees take that maybe up to 850, 900, with an NGDV roughly of about 1,200. And those very rough figures, not factoring in funds and things. But the profit margin on the bigger one is circa 250.
Wow. So you could be making £250,000 plus potentially over the next few years out of your first foray into development.
Yeah.
That's better than the police officer's salary, isn't it? Or traffic warden.
That's probably 10 years worth. It's 10 years worth. Yeah.
10 years worth. 10 years worth. Wow. Sam, I really appreciate you sharing that. Not everyone will share their numbers. Clearly, Sam knows her numbers, but just appreciate Sam sharing that high level numbers, particularly as Sam was also very honest to share with you all out there that she'd made some mistakes. And, you know, most successful people in life always make mistakes. And the ones that haven't made mistakes are probably lying to you. So we've all made mistakes in life. Sam's made some. It's cost her some money. I think she's probably going to nod if that's the case. Yeah. And what a great opportunity that Sam's going to get that back over the next few years. I mean, that is life-changing amounts of money. But it's not big scale. These are relatively small projects. So really excited for Sam to do that.
I think what's important though, Richie, is that in that scheme that didn't go so well, all of the investors got all of their investment back and their interest back. It was very important to me and my business partner that we did that. So yes, that caused us financial pain. We had to sell stuff and remortgage and that. But if we can't do that for the investors, then that's that relationship over. So
well,
in a painful time, they'll want to do business with us again, because like I said, we know we never want to go down that road again, so we're not going to take them down that road.
Yeah, it's like it was said earlier, you know, you're authentic. People are saying that on here, which is great. That's why I share it. And of course, your background, you know, you're a police officer, detective out there, so you've got that authenticity to you, and you took it on the chin. And I think if you take it on the chin, as you said earlier, you accept, you know, Vicky says integrity is everything. Absolutely, Vicky. So I think, you know, you took it on the chin as most genuine, authentic people would do, and go, I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to come back stronger. And it sounds like you will. So yeah, I mean, I would say, as an investor, if I'm an investor looking in, I'd go, I want to work with the person that's made the mistake and paid their investors back, and they took the hit, because that's the investor I want to. That's the person I want to work with. Okay, got a question from Gavin. Gavin says, "Hi Sam, do you want to say hi to Gavin?"
Hi Gavin.
There you go, Gavin. Look at that. It's all very personal here today, isn't it? Very polite. He says, besides the challenges finding a deal that's stacked up, what other major challenges did you have before you got your first deal on your journey? Good one.
I think the primary things have been about the concern initially about how would I raise funds and finding the deal. On the property that I still hold as serviced accommodation, I took that as a steep learning curve. I deliberately wanted to be more involved in it. I could have got a project manager on it, but I didn't want to. I wanted to understand it from all angles. I had the safety net as from my architect managing the relationship between the builder and me, but I wanted to learn how that process went there. So I don't see that as a challenge, but I see it as I needed to have that understanding, because what I didn't want to do is have people pull wool over my eyes later. I didn't want the builder to say to me, oh yeah, the next invoice is 50 grand and we've done this, that and the other, and I'd be like, okay, well, I don't really know what 50 grand looks like in build. So I'd had the backup of the architect. So yeah, I don't see those as challenges. And some people might think, is there any challenges because you're a woman doing this? But I don't necessarily feel I've experienced that. I've always worked in a male-dominated industry anyway, so maybe that's just me, that I'm not perturbed by that. So yeah, I don't want to sort of find a challenge for the sake of finding a challenge. So I think it's just those two things of how initially to raise the money and then to get the deal that works.
Gavin, hopefully that's answered your question. A little comment here from Charlotte. Charlotte says, it's nice to see a woman developer. Seems very male dominated. Yeah, Charlotte, the industry is massively male dominated. Property construction industry always has been. And yes, it is very nice to have a lot more female input. I mean, it's been growing over the years. The industry professional side has got a lot more female industry professionals in there. And I think it's good for any business. A male-dominated or female-dominated industry is not very good. A good mix of both sexes, I think, gives a great balance. Okay. Clive, so Alicia says, thank you, Sam, for your question you asked earlier. Clive says, good morning, Clive. So Clive says, in the current climate, this follows on from what you've just said, so maybe you've already answered this, Sam, but Clive says, in the current climate, how can you give investors confidence to invest in your projects? So maybe think about this current climate.
So the two deals that I've got going through at the moment, I've spoken to my circle of investors who are currently involved and just reassured them that I'm not proceeding with anything until we're comfortable with where we're going with it. I wouldn't want to just bulldoze through and think, fine, we've got the investor money, that's brilliant, let's crack on, because I don't want to be having those discussions with them later on if this doesn't work out. So like I said, I will be reappraising everything, so doing all the comparables again, speaking to all the estate agents again, like I did a year ago when I put the offer in, and checking with those build costs, liaising with the project manager to make sure the build costs are where we still think they are. And it will be resurveyed. So although I spent £2,000 in December on a survey for this building, I'm going to have to spend that again to get another survey done. And if that means we need to move on the price, then that's a discussion I'm going to have. What I'm not prepared to do is have the purchase price stay here, the build cost wherever that moves to, and then the GDV goes down, because all you're doing is squeezing the margin and it makes it an unviable deal. So having those conversations, doing that reappraisal and reassuring people that we're not going forward unless we're happy that the deal is still going to be viable.
Fantastic.
Right, hopefully that's answered your question. Great answer. I love that. Thank you, Sam.
Got one in here from Karen. Karen says, morning, Sam. How valuable was your early experience with buy-to-let HMOs and SA? Rich and Ian say you don't need to do lots of buy-to-lets before getting into development. but could you have gone straight into development after leaving the police force?
Yes, potentially I could have gone straight into development. The training company that I was spending money with at that point encouraged you to start with buy-to-lets and move on to other things. Probably now in hindsight, I wonder if that's because they want you to go on every single training course that they've got going, probably. You can go straight into development, although that might feel daunting. I wouldn't recommend one day you're in a day job, next day you're doing development without any knowledge and experience. Personally, I did feel I needed a safety net of somebody with experience to be able to cover off the things that I didn't know. I don't think you can read a couple of books and then crack on and do a development. Well, that's not my risk attitude anyway, that I'd be prepared to do that. I think if you are going to transition from job or business to development, you do need to understand what's involved in it. So you do need to gain a knowledge base in some form, and definitely work with professionals that have been recommended to you, not off checker trade or something like that.
Great stuff. That was Karen M, by the way. We have several Karens on this, several names on here. That's brilliant, Karen. Hopefully that's answered your question. We're right on time. I know there's some questions we haven't answered. I do apologise we can't answer everything. Hopefully you found that useful. But yeah, lovely questions coming in. Vicky says woman power, and I think she's done like a little thing like this on there. Gavin says, thank you, Sam. Good to see you. Raj says, Sam, brilliant and inspiring. He wishes you all every success in the future. Thank you, Sam. Very useful, says Clive. Karen says, thank you so much. Your reply is a real confidence booster. That is brilliant. Great, Sam. Thank you from the Hoppers. Richie and Ian, you have some great guests. Sam, that can't be bad, can it? Nina says, great to hear from you, from your projects in the pipeline. Good luck with Sam. Girl power. Great stuff. Sam, thank you for coming on. Sam, would you love to come back again if people would like you to come back? There's obviously questions we didn't answer. Karen says, nice work. Yvonne says, great, lovely. Love your honesty. Absolutely love Sam's honesty. If you'd like Sam to come back, give us a quick wave and we'll try and get Sam. Sorry, Sam, no one's waving.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Well, Sam, when we actually get on with these two developments, then I'll have something different to say and comment then.
Brilliant. Sam, just give us the name of your company and the contact details if people want to contact you, please.
It's called Revive Holdings, and you can email me at hello@reviveholdings.co.uk. You can find my website.
Can you give that email address one more time?
hello@revive, REVIVE, holdings.co.uk.
And you're happy for people to message you if they want to chat to you further?
Yeah.
Great stuff. Sam, thank you for coming on. We're going to get rid of Sam now because frankly she's stealing the show, so we're going to have to steal it back. Sam, thanks for coming on, and we're going to wrap up the rest of the show with you. Sam, thank you very much. See you soon.
Thanks, Sam.
Guys, how good was that, eh? Brilliant, wasn't it? Absolutely love Sam coming on. And look, and I know we haven't answered all your questions. I know there was lots coming in. That's great. Obviously, we always want to make sure we finish on time, but we will get Sam back in the future. As people said, you know, I love the honesty. That is great. I think Sam, she's not all show. She'd just tell you exactly how it is. So that's great. Right, let's just finish on a few other little bits and pieces. Karen says, that's great, guys. What's the new name of the show? Karen, patience is the name of the game. Should we want to announce the name of the show here, what this show is going to be called and how we've come about the solution?
Yeah, well, firstly, thank you so much for all of your ideas. We had a boatload of ideas come in, and it was a very difficult decision. It was certainly not unanimous, but we have decided to call the new name of the show, Open Door with Property CEO. So very much reflecting the fact that it is an open door of access to us and to our guests, where we have this kind of interaction, and you can ask all the questions that you want. So Open Door is going to be launching fairly soon with a slightly new look. Richie, I think, has possibly be buying a new shirt. We wait and see if that what that's going to look like. But that's going to be the name going forward. But we did have some prizes on offer, didn't we, Rich?
Yeah. So I mean, I have to say, and we got to be honest. We asked everyone to put suggestions, and we had a load of suggestions. We put a load of suggestions in the hat. And we then chose amongst all the team here, and the team put their own suggestions in the hat. We had basically first, second, third, fourth, fifth suggestions of all the names in the hat. The Open Door was actually ultimately suggested by one of our team, so we couldn't give them the prize. Quite rightly, they didn't want the prize anyway, because I'm going to tell you what the prize is. So we actually then looked at the next ones down that got the most votes. So the next name that followed on after Open Door was called the Saturday Brief. We really loved the Saturday Brief. The only reason that we thought we couldn't ultimately go with it, and Ian and I were specifically thinking of this, is that we run a show on a Tuesday as well, so it's slightly complicated, but we really liked the Saturday Brief. And the other thing, in time, you know, after lockdown, you guys might not want to do a Saturday show. This is your show, so you might tell us you want it on a different day. So we thought that might be difficult, but we really love the name, and that was from Alan. Alan, so if you're listening, Alan, if you're not listening, then we're going to email you separately. So Alan is going to win 2 books, our industrial conversion book and another book, which we'll talk to about in 2 seconds just before we finish off. He's also going to win a free half-day session with me to talk about anything on his property journey. Totally free. He can do that virtual, Alan, or you can do it physically when lockdown's gone. You can come to our office, spend a half day with us, and we'll help you and direct you on absolutely anything to do with your property journey. So yeah, we don't do that for anyone other than students that's on board with us. So hopefully that, and we don't always do just, you know, a whole half day one-to-one. So that's hopefully quite special for you.
Second prize is a full day, is it?
The second prize is a full day. Thank you. Yeah, very funny. And the 2 runners up were Sheikh Mohammed and Hitan, who both they got equal votes on the name called the Sanity Session, and we really liked that. That got some good votes. So the Sanity Session. So Sheikh Mohammed and Hitan, hopefully you guys on today. Can't see Hitan on here, but you guys are going to win 2 books. So our industrial conversion book, and the second book is, what's the second book about, Ian? This is something quite exciting that Ian seems to be out there doing things.
Well, I'm doing something. We've got as a new book coming out very shortly, which I will tell everybody about next week. In fact, I'll mention it on Tuesday's show.
Good stuff. So new book, Tuesday show. Tune in for that. And then just 2 final things. As always, we're going to put these messages out there consistently. Please bring a friend, bring a colleague. If you like this show, if you enjoy this show, and you think someone else will enjoy it, we're going to carry this on long term, as long as you turn up, as long as you want us to do this. Open Door is going to be the new name. It's an open door access. Where else do you get an open door access to the 2 founding members of a training company? We don't know anyone else that does it. It's upbeat, it's fun. So if you've got some colleagues or friends you think would enjoy this, please invite them along to the next show, send them a link and they can register. So we'd like you to do that. Ian, do you want to just mention about the recording that we put together?
Yep. So if you're interested in finding out what we think is going to be the new opportunities coming around the corner in development, and how you might be able to get into that and leverage your existing skills to do that, then we put together a webinar which you can access on our website. You just go to propertyceo.co.uk, and then you'll see a little red button on the home screen. Click on that, and then you can watch that. That's about an hour-long recording. And as I said, we go into lots of details on there, and the things that we think are going to be sort of moving and shaking in the world of small-scale property development over the coming weeks, months, and years.
And that video is called Why Now, and it is as a direct result. You guys asked us, we've always asking you what you want us to do, so please message us, put it in the chat box, email us of anything you want us to do. So that video was put together because we've often talking about the opportunities, and you guys said, can you put it together? Well, as Ian said, it's an hour long. It talks about why now, why the opportunities are in PD, and also how you can get into development and what skill sets you need. You know, it'll take a whole show and more to do that. So that's there for you as requested for your content. So hopefully that is good. And two final things then, just to finish off, we have a Facebook group, a private Facebook group. If you like what we do, please apply for that. It's called Business Owners. I forget what the blooming group's called. I'm in there all the time and I can't remember the name. So our Facebook group, and let me just give you the exact title as I get in there very quickly. This is how organized I am, isn't it? So the exact title is...
It's embarrassing, man.
It's not embarrassing. Business Owners Creating Wealth Through Property Development. I want to make sure I get it right. Business Owners Creating Wealth Through Property Development. If you'd like to join that, it's the only real Facebook place that we are active in, answering things. There's a lot of interviews in there with people like our students, people very similar to Sam. So if you're interested, please apply to join that, and we'll hopefully get you in that. So you get a bit more content in there. Also, there's the ongoing saga of the Clapson and the child dogs, and the child dog is obviously clearly winning. So please come on board in there. So guys, hopefully that's good. Next week we plan to have Dwayne Walker in from Primrose, a local commercial agent. He put his back out the other week when he was due to come in, but I'm going to speak to him next week. Fingers crossed he'll be on the show next Saturday. So that's Dwayne Walker from Primrose BAS, the local commercial agent, a very experienced guy to take your questions next week. Have you enjoyed today's show? Give us a wave if you enjoyed today's show, please. Excellent, lots of waves. Guys, great stuff. Alison says, thanks, chaps. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Alison, enjoy yours. And when your husband gets back, then enjoy some time together. So hopefully that's good, guys. Thank you very much, as always, for attending. This is for you. So, you know, enjoy yourself. Jim says, thank you. Cheers, guys, says Edward. Joko says, thank you, Rich and Ian. Enjoyed it again. A little kiss on there as well. Good. Just one kiss. One kiss is acceptable. I think 2 or 3 is a little bit odd. Thank you, says Linda. Linda, thank you. Thank you for attending. Nice to see you on board. Ha, 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 says Yoko. I think that was the one kiss joke there. We'll finish on that note. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Look forward to seeing you Tuesday.
See you on Tuesday.